Hola y buenas. Today we're going to talk about the subjunctive in adverbial clauses. Now, keep in mind that a clause is a sentence. Now, in Spanish, the concept of using the subjunctive with an adverbial clause, and I'll get into adverbial clauses and what they are in just a second, is a little bit different than what you've been learning with your concepts of the subjunctive. The reason why it's different is because before, when you were learning structure of subjunctive, you were learning trigger phrase, the word que, and then subjunctive. So you had your expressions of influence, doubt, and emotion, and also your sentences that talked about a certain subject. Remember, we call that an antecedent that may or may not exist. Okay, so those were all triggers for the subjunctive after the word que. Now, you don't always use the word que to indicate subjunctive. If you remember, maybe you don't remember, but when I first mentioned the subjunctive way back when, I said that we use the word que with subjunctive most of the time. Now we're going to learn when we don't. But the cool thing is you still have a trigger. You need to have a trigger in order for the subjunctive to occur. It can't just occur randomly. So let me show you some differences between subjunctive, which is your mood, and indicative, which states what actually is real and a fact. Now, the following expressions can go either subjunctive or indicative, depending on what your context is. Aunque, which means although. Cuando, which means when. Después de que, which means after. En cuanto or tan pronto como, which both mean as soon as. Hasta que, which means until. Mientras que, which means while. You're going to use the indicative if the clause or the sentence refers to an action or states a fact, or excuse me, a habitual action or states a fact, something that's real. Usualmente compra manzanas cuando va al mercado. Usually he buys apples when he goes to the market. This is a habit. This is something he always does. So the word cuando is not going to trigger the subjunctive because this is something he usually does. So the context of the sentence is a habit. It's real. Siempre lloro después de que la película termina. I always cry after the movie ends. This is something I always do. The word siempre is not a trigger for the subjunctive because it's a habit. It's what usually happens. So termina, not subjunctive, after the expression después de que. You're going to use the subjunctive if the clause is uncertain or refers to the future, meaning it hasn't happened yet. Comprará manzanas cuando vaya al mercado. He will buy apples when he goes to the market. Okay, so comprará manzanas is what he will do. Then we have the expression cuando, which means when. After that, the subjunctive is triggered because going to the market has not happened yet. And remember that the main idea about subjunctive is to express things that aren't necessarily real, that don't necessarily exist or haven't necessarily happened. Okay, that's why we call it a mood, right? If we say he bought apples when he went to the market, that's something that already happened, or he always buys apples when he goes to the market. Those are things that always happen. Those indicate reality. Whereas he will buy apples, that's reality. He's going to do that, okay? When he goes to the market, well, he's not at the market yet, right? He's sitting at home or he's in class, but he's not at the market. So that part after cuando is not going to be in the indicative, but rather in the subjunctive because it expresses unreality. Voy a llorar después de que la película termine. Let's just say I'm going to sit down and watch a really sappy movie, okay? And this doesn't reflect what I would actually do because movies don't really make me cry, but I'm going to cry after the movie ends, right? So I'm stating what I'm going to do after this happens, right? Well, this movie ending, it hasn't happened yet because I haven't even started watching. okay? So that part after the después de que is going to be in the subjunctive because it has not happened yet. It is not reality. The conjugation can change the meaning of the conjunction. Voy a la fiesta aunque mi bicicleta está rota. Okay, this is where we get into some really funky stuff with subjunctive versus indicative. I'm going to the party although my bike is broken. Okay, that my bike is broken. It's over there. The spokes are broken. The chain is off. Okay, but I'm going to the party even though my bike is sitting over there. It is broken. Now check this out. Voy a la fiesta aunque mi bicicleta esté rota. All right, let's just say I haven't used my bike in like 2 years, okay? But my only way of getting there is my bike. Well, I'm pretty determined to go to that party. And so I'm gonna go to the party, although it may be broken. I don't know if it's broken or not. I haven't gone to check on it yet, okay? When I get there, maybe it will, maybe it won't. So the esté rota, it is broken, reflects my lack of knowledge, the fact that it's, I don't know if it is or isn't. Okay, so check out the meaning. I'm going to the party, although my bike is broken. I'm going to the party, although my bike may be broken. See how I say the word may be in English? That's how we express uncertainty. Spanish will express uncertainty simply by putting that verb in the subjunctive because it's unreality. See, that's where I love languages because we don't really have anything like this in English. We just use different words to express our uncertainty. Spanish uses a verb conjugation to express that same idea. Okay, so now, again, as a review, if you have a future with a conjunction, and going back to the conjunctions, let's go back there really quick. Okay, these conjunctions here, aunque, cuando, después de que, en cuanto, tan pronto como, hasta que, mientras que, after these expressions, not before them, but after them, if whatever is being talked about hasn't happened yet or is not real, you use the subjunctive. Okay, and just so you know, typically, at least for you guys, before these expressions, you will notice that we tend to use the future tense. Okay, let me go back to these examples really quick. Okay, comprará is the future tense. All right, that's the simple future. Voy a llorar, I'm going to cry. That's also the future. Both of those are future. Okay, so basically the structure is you have the future, then you have one of these expressions like cuando or en cuanto or tan pronto como, and then you use the subjunctive. That's kind of the structure of it. So you see the structure is a little bit different than what you've been learning with trigger phrase, que, subjunctive. Now it's trigger situation in the future plus a conjunction like cuando or después de que, and then subjunctive if it hasn't happened yet. Okay, little bit different than what you've learned, but still influenced by a trigger. All right. And again, like I say with everything else, how do you internalize this and say it properly? Practice, obviously. Okay, so let's get to it.